They say love is a battlefield, and there is no greater battlefield at the moment than the battle of the indies. Trying to make your indie stand out above the mountains of others has always been, okay, here we go again, an uphill battle. But there are some games that manage to do it. Games like The Messenger, games like Celeste, games like Enter the Gungeon. These are all games that they made a name for themselves. They managed to take off above the rest and get seen. And I think the next game that is going to do this is Wargroove. There are several things you need to make your indie game stand out above the rest. The first one is you need a good game. Obviously you need a good game. The second is concept. You need a good concept behind your game. And this one is picking on Advance Wars. It's saying, hey, this is a good concept. No one's done this for a while. Let's bring this back. And I think it's just ripe for the picking at the moment. People's nostalgia for Advance Wars is at an all-time high. The people who have played it, which unfortunately isn't me, we'll get into that, but they love that game and they're loving the look of this one. So I think this is a good play for them. And I think the last thing here that you need is a time slot. You need a good time to release, because if you're going up against some other big hitters, you're not going to be able to stand out. And right now, it's ripe for the picking. And I'm going to go into why I think that this is going to happen anytime now. Because one, we are due for a Nintendo Direct. Two, this game is ready to go. And three, I think we're going to get a Direct and this game at the same time. I think it's just going to happen. I think they're going to go Direct, bam, Wargroove, bam, push it out the door, and you just get it that day. If that doesn't happen, I could see it at least happening like very, very soon after. The fact is they have a early 2019 launch window at the moment, and it's early 2019. So the point that I want to get to with today's video is, I know there's a lot of you who have played Advance Wars and you are so excited for this game, and I'm excited for you. But today's video, I want to cover both for people who maybe just want to catch up on everything that we know, as well as people who maybe haven't played this game. No one's played this game. Maybe haven't played many games like this before, or especially Advance Wars, and want to know maybe why they should care about it. Or if they should care about it.
Brace yourself!
Let's talk about why your care factor might want to go from 0 and rise up to hero. First of all, this game comes from a little developer that is no laughing matter, and they're actually a publisher as well, I should mention here. You might recognize them as Chucklefish. Now, Chucklefish have done games like, well, they've published games like Stardew Valley and Risk of Rain and that punching one, Pocket Rumble. They're also behind a pretty big game called Starbound, so they certainly made a name for themselves. Now if you're thinking, didn't we hear about this game ages ago? Well yeah, we totally did. It was actually at the launch of the Switch when we first heard about this game. And it was supposed to be coming that year. And then of course it's been like a couple years now. And you're probably thinking, what's taking so long? Well, turns out they've been working pretty damn hard. There is a lot of extra content in this. We're going to jump through some of it so that maybe you can see what to expect from this game, as well as see if maybe this game is something for you, whether you're into tactics games or not. Now the basic gameplay, which I'm going into this assuming that you've played a tactics game. I mean, you've played a tactics game, right? I've played one, you've played one, we're all on the same page here. It's basically a grid-based tactics game where you're going to pick from one of 12 heroes who all have their own unique abilities that, you saw this coming, it's called grooves. Now these grooves are powerful abilities that can be used on the battlefield, such as powering up your allies, or maybe doing a big jump that where you land you'll do damage around you, splash damage. Now your commander is your only unique unit. You do actually have 4 factions that one of the commanders will be from each one, and the units look different from each other, but they don't act differently. In other words, if you have the dog commander and then you have the dog classes, they're not stronger dogs for any reason. Anyway, let's move on to how you actually win these maps. So the way you win them is by defeating the commander or capturing the other team's base. The key to actually doing this though is you'll notice there are buildings scattered all around the map. Now capturing these buildings is how you, one, call upon more units. You can buy units from these buildings, and 2, that's depending on the amount of buildings that you have, is how much money you're just going to generate each turn to be able to buy these units in the first place. I don't want to dive too deep into the strategy because I tend to lose some people in the weeds sometimes, so I'm going to save you all getting that deep. But I was going to say there's things like, obviously some units are super effective against others. You can kind of see a chart there. There's other things like the units themselves will be able to move like a different amount of distance each. And some of them just have unique things to them, like the dogs are stronger when they're in a pack of dogs, if there's more dogs around them. But they can't capture buildings, so you kind of got to toss up what's going to work for the best situation. As I said, strategy gets deep, the weeds are down here, and I'm not going to lose you today. Let's keep going. Oh, I did actually forget to mention, there is also sea and air combat. So obviously it's not just grounded to the ground, but you probably already noticed that anyway through some of the footage that I've been showing you. Now, if you're not really into the multiplayer stuff, like, that's cool, I feel you. Like, I'm the same, I'm not that big into playing multiplayer against like other people. I'm more of a single player guy, and the devs have actually said there's a lot of single player content here. There's like, apparently, according to their blog, there's 50+ hours of single player content. That includes like, there's a campaign mode, there's an arcade mode, and a challenge mode. Just to quickly jump through the modes, the arcade is supposed to be like just a quick mode that you're versing like 5 characters quite quickly, and you learn a little bit about the characters with the interactions with each other, and get a quick cutscene at the end. Think about like the way they compared it, I think, was like to a fighting game where you work way up the tree and it's just a quick round of playing with that one character to the top. Then you obviously have the campaign mode. This is where you're going to go through the big overarching story. There's a whole bunch of maps in this, and there's obviously cutscenes and everything in between this one. So this is the big campaign that you're going to play by itself. And then there's also a puzzle mode to this. And the puzzle mode is like just one turn puzzle. So you have one turn to try and figure out whatever the puzzle was asking you to do. That puzzle mode to me is just like beating down stress. Like, I can feel the beads of sweat already building up on me. I don't handle those puzzle modes well. Like games like Pokemon Puzzle League and other tactics games that always have these modes in there, they just get to me. They really do get to me. But some people love them, so like, more power to you. And if you're a multiplayer person, don't worry, don't run off yet. Come back, come back. There's obviously local multiplayer. You're gonna be able to jump online and verse other people online with synchronous or asynchronous multiplayer. You can co-op and buddy up together and traverse the computers, and obviously you can go against the CPU. There's heaps to do here if you're just into the co-op experience as well. Don't think that that's lacking. I mean, these games are built, like especially a game like this, its long-term play is built around that multiplayer. This next part for me is super exciting. As someone who like has just put way too many hours into RPG Maker and Mario Maker and any game where I can make something, this part is exciting because they actually have a full, not just map editor, but a campaign editor. But what I mean by that is you can literally make your own overarching story, your overarching map, and not just like the map and the campaigns themselves, cutscenes. You can literally make your own cutscenes. And I've watched some of the footage they've been making these, and it's super accessible. It's hard to believe like how easy they made this. Like after playing something like RPG Maker where it's just like, you feel like you're in over your head as soon as you start looking at the menus, this just feels really accessible. Just to dive a little bit deeper on that, obviously you're going to be able to make your own maps, as I said, and the maps you can make not just the cutscene that plays before it and after it, but you can have cutscenes that play out in the middle of a map. So you have like events trigger. So if you step on a certain tile, an event might trigger. If a certain enemy dies, an event might trigger. And not just with cutscenes as well, you can have it so like if you step on a certain tile, more enemies might spawn. Lots of different stuff like that. I don't want to go too deep into it. I do want to go too deep into it, but I'm not going to go too deep into it because there's just so much there. Like, it's unbelievable how much they actually managed to cram into this. And that is definitely the most exciting part for me. And I think the most mind-blowing thing when just thinking about all this is that the map editor, because it lets you make your own cutscenes, your own world map, your own campaigns, your own levels, your own everything that happens, I would almost assume, and I think I'm correct in this, that you can literally make the main story single player campaign yourself in this mode. And I think that would be amazing. I really hope someone does that and allows you to play as like the opponents versus each other so you can see how much of an advantage going too deep, out of the weeds, whoosh. Let's keep moving. Have you ever played Mario Maker? You'll know that like the search options is just one of the hardest things apparently for Nintendo to get right. But they seem to have done pretty well here. They said there's a lot of options. I haven't actually seen options myself, but from the way they're talking, it seems like they've done a pretty good job of making things searchable, making like a thumbs up or thumbs down or like or dislike system that will help you find the good levels. Also, if you're a fan of unlockables, these devs sound like they're quite old school gamers and they love having like unlockables that you get for just slowly making your way through the campaign, maybe doing slaying your way through the puzzle mode. As you do all that, it sounds like you're gonna get all these extra unlockables. I'm not sure what the exact prerequisites are. But you can see kind of what they're going to unlock because there is a jukebox, there is a, what else have we got here, codex, and a gallery where you're going to unlock a whole bunch of stuff for the game, whether it be stuff behind the characters or just whether it be new songs and playlists and stuff like that. Or even just stuff that goes in the gallery, the pictures and all of that stuff, you're going to slowly unlock as you go through this game and make more of it. Or probably play, not make, because I don't know. I mean, make is what I'm going to be doing. Since I just bombarded you with so much information, I am going to throw one last bit at you here and just say the game supports a huge amount of languages, so if you're someone who likes to play in a different language, I will leave them in the description so you can quick flip through them, and colorblind as well. So if you're colorblind, it supports that. Actually, why on that? The game has a huge amount of different customization options. Like, they allow you to customize a huge amount in this game. I really think they thought about this ahead of time and said, let's not have anyone have a reason just to get mad at us about saying, we can't customize this. Like, we can't turn off cutscenes happening, or like when battles happen, we can't turn off the fact that we don't want to see a battle and just skip straight to the turn and how much damage it does. They allowed you to do that. And so, like, good on them for just saying, here's all the options, have them all. Speaking of options, I'm out of options for the end of this episode, so we're going to end it here. And I just want to say thank you for joining me. And remember, for great Nintendo entertainment, you can count on me. Today's end screen is from Patreon Jacob, and he asked what's my favorite controller. So I'm really boring. My favorite controller is just to use the Pro controller. I like the Splatoon one the best at the moment, but yeah, that's a really boring take. A non-boring take is that I actually don't mind using the Joy-Con controllers, like just either individually or on a grip. I actually find them rather comfortable. That does not bother me at all. And then Jacob also asks for my entire collection. So I'm gonna put a picture up scrolling through it so you can see my collection of controllers and Joy-Cons that I have. You notice that I don't really have any third-party ones because I just mainly collect the first-party ones. But I am still after some. I wish I had the Xenoblade one. I'm so upset that I kind of missed out on that, and I'm not willing to pay exorbitant prices for it. And I still wish I had more colors of the Joy-Con. I wish I had them all, but they're pretty expensive to buy each one. So yeah, thank you, Jacob. And thank you everyone else. Bye.